back, folks, to the WP-Tonic show. This is episode 467. We got a returning friend of the show. It was a great interview a few months ago. We thought we would have him back, and he was available. So Vito Peleg, founder of WPfeedback, is back. Vito, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the listeners and viewers?
Yes, how you doing? Great to be back. We've been hanging out almost weekly now, Jonathan.
Yes, he's joined my regular WP Roundtable Friday show. He's been a regular member. It's fun to have you.
So I'm Vito. I'm the founder of WPfeedback, which is a communication platform for WordPress professionals. And now we're launching something very, very special, which we're going to talk about today. So I'm not going to reveal anything until then.
No, we're going to be discussing that in the second half. But in the first half, we're going to be talking, Vito had a really interesting change. He started as a freelancer, then he became an agency owner, and a very successful one. So we thought that would be interesting for our listeners and viewers. How from a freelancer do you become an agency owner and continue being one? So we thought we would.
That's the real challenge.
Yes, and we thought we would ask somebody that's got some experience of that in the battlefield, as they say.
Right.
I've got my great co-host, Adrian. Adrian, would you like to quickly introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Adrian. I'm the CEO and founder of Groundhog. I am not in my usual location today, but we're able to make do. We sell marketing automation and sales tools for businesses that use WordPress.
He's been snowed in, listeners and viewers, aren't you? You're snowed in.
And so it's not super terrible in terms of the amount of snow. We have about 10 centimeters coming in throughout the day. The only problem is I live in Toronto, and nobody in this city knows how to drive when there's 1 centimeter of snow on the ground. So I've decided I'm not taking the car out today, and I'm gonna tough it out at home.
Wise words. He's a wise young man, actually. That's what I like about Adrian. So before we go into the main part of the interview, I'd like to talk about our major sponsor, and that's Kingster Hosting. Kingster's been our major sponsor for over 2 years, and they decided to continue sponsoring the show this year. So what do you get with Kingster? Well, I consider them to be the premier WordPress hosting specialist on the market at the present moment. Not only for your clients, but for your own projects, you get all the bells and whistles with Kingster: staging site, one-click backup, latest versions of PHP. You can select really easily which version of PHP you need. I could go on and on with the features in their UX design, and it's beautiful as well and really easy to use. And to be truthful, after you've used Kingster, it's really hard to go back to other people's hosting packages. Also, you get really fantastic 24/7 support from people that really understand WordPress. Your problems or inquiries don't have to be escalated to somebody that does understand your problem. You deal with people on the front line that have been properly trained. So if that sounds really interesting, go over to Kingster, look at their packages, buy it for yourself or for your clients. And also, and this is the important thing, tell them that you heard about them on the WP-Tonic website. Their support over the past 3 years has been fantastic and much appreciated by myself and by the show in general. So, Vito, I thought we'd have you back for this topic because you've done the road. You know, you trotted it. So let's start. What do you think is one of the most important things freelancers got to understand when they're trying to change from freelancer to agency owner?
I would sum it in a sentence saying like that. You need to understand that you're no longer a technician. You're becoming a business owner. That's the biggest mindset shift that needs to happen when you want to scale up. You start dealing with all kinds of different things that have nothing to do with actually building a website. And you got to go into this prepared, or at least willing, or else it wouldn't work. So that's the most important thing, like understanding the transition. You're no longer a technician working on the tools. You're the man running the show.
All right, over to you, Adrian.
So if you're transitioning over to a business sort of mentality, where did you go to adopt that? Was it something that was natural for you? Did you go to certain people to learn how to operate in a business mindset versus kind of just like doing the freelancer thing and taking jobs when they come instead of going towards them?
Right.
You have to learn HR, finances, all of that good stuff. How did you learn that and adopt that information?
So I was kind of into these things before I even was into WordPress, to be honest. Like I've been into marketing and business and like looking into what things are happening in that sense, literally since high school. I just approached it from a point of view that I wanted to apply all of these business skills and marketing skills and all this kind of stuff to the music career. That was like my choice back then. And I was the manager of the band. We were booking hundreds of shows every year. So you got to deal with a lot of logistics. You got to deal with a lot of accounts, budgeting, managing the team, creating, making sure that you have enough merchandise, preparing in this, doing all these projections. So it's a proper business, especially when you're working as an indie artist and it starts working out. I kind of felt that a lot of the skills were just came through experience with that part of it. But I did read loads of books along the years to prepare me to be a business owner. You can't just start. Well, you can't just start, but if you want to kind of like make it, you gotta, like you're saying, consume as much knowledge as you can from every angle that is possible. So that was my kind of a beginning. Then as I was started scaling specifically in the WordPress space, you find challenges that are unique to this industry. That's when I approached like learning from courses. I love buying courses and learning from them. The first one that really made a huge transition for me was Troy Dean's ones, WP Elevation, which I bought when I couldn't afford. And I already had like 2 people working for me, and it was just a mess trying to juggle all the systems and all this kind of stuff. And that just came in the right time. I was feeling the pain that this course was solving. So that was just like perfect at that time. So a lot learned throughout the years, but that course really pushed me over the edge to understand that, okay, we can build a business here.
It's always when you purchase something and you can't afford it, you get the most out of it.
That's
because you are extremely incentivized to succeed at that point. It's not a lot of people buy things and they're like, oh, well, I can take it like next month because I have the money in the bank to pay for it. When you can't afford it, it's like, all right, well, I got to consume as much of this as possible right now and then apply it in order to create revenue, to pay it off.
Yes,
like
exactly.
yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what happened, because I was so into this thing, and there was already work coming in, but it was not systemized to even close to the level that was taught throughout the course. And it just gave me literally a blueprint that I could work with and just execute. And because I was hungry and I had payrolls to pay, then I just made it work. And within the first month, we already doubled the value that we spent on the course itself.
Just goes to show you that if your current barrier to starting something or learning something is monetary, then maybe that's not actually the biggest barrier.
That's very true. It's part of business to put yourself in a corner, to push yourself into a corner. That's
99% of business is risk, right?
Yes, exactly. That's where the magic really happens. So taking these chances is what is exciting about this kind of concept that we're doing. That's how I look at it. And I try to apply this to a lot of things. And this was comparably cheap to other courses that I bought later on when I couldn't afford them at that stage, So every time there is something you can't afford and you should, because it's just going to take you to that next level.
I totally agree. Jonathan?
So you talked about, going on Troy Dean's course and you learned processes. Can you give some outlines? Obviously, we haven't got endless time on this podcast. Well, sometimes it feels endless, but can you give some key things that you adapted into your own agency processes that weren't there, that you think somebody really has to understand, that would benefit them the most if they're thinking of going from freelancer to agency owner?
Sure. So the idea of systemizing, that's the biggest concept. But you can systemize every single thing that you do in life as long as it happens more than once. And that's the kind of trick to it. The big things that came from this course was the onboarding sequence that really helped systemize when people are coming on board, what's going to happen, when are they going to sign the contract, when are they going to pay the deposit. Everything was kind of in the gray area, before there were set policies for stuff. So the onboarding sequence was a huge help there. And also that kind of introduced me to the concept of doing care plans. As a freelancer, I didn't want to even think about maintenance. I didn't want to even look at this. I wanted to be, like I was an artist in my mind. I was building beautiful websites. So I shouldn't be dealing with emails, and setting up Gmail accounts and whatever. And the maintaining website, worrying about security, long-term backups, all of these things that now seem so obvious. Back then it was like, no way, I'm not touching this thing. But the fact that I wasn't touching it didn't stop my clients, my previous clients, to reach out to me and expect it to be there. So it just created more grief than help until I kind of realized, all right, if you guys want my help, then at least I'm going to get paid for it. And that's where I set up the care plans. A lot of this was through Christina Romero's kind of strategies. But the initial idea came from seeing the flow of the kind of like the blueprint, as Troy defines it on his course over there. After the first year, the recurring revenue was incredible when it comes to running the business, making sure that payroll is done on time, that there is profit, that I can actually enjoy the fruits of this business, which now I know this even from, because we're working with a lot of agencies. Like a lot of agencies are not making any money just because they are living on such slim profit margins that when the tiniest thing happen, it just rattles the ship and you go below water. So recurrent revenue really helped me. I was in the same state, and recurrent revenue got me out of it.
So fundamentally, would I be correct in saying that, not in all cases, I'm going to see if this applied to you, that actually your income, if you're moving from a freelancer to agency, your actual personal income will probably be hit for a certain amount of time. Is that correct?
For sure. Like the model that I try to adapt to try and keep that in check is that I would work until I am at 150% capacity. That's when I would bring a guy that will take 50% off of me. So he has 100%, but then I have only 50, which then I need to build back up. I mean, in terms of revenue, but also in terms of work that is flowing through the business. And that was the kind of like repeatable process. To be honest, if I would do it now, I wouldn't jump into hiring so early. I hired pretty early because there was just work. But instead, I would just filter more and increase the prices, reach to a place where I have more money than I need, a lot more money than I need before I start bringing people on board. That wasn't the case. I kind of just was under the mentality that, okay, if I have work, I need to take it. So you end up bringing an employee just out of necessity instead of strategy.
Over to you, Adrian.
So You have the recurring revenue portion set up, and you have the maintenance, and that is able to help you create that sort of sustainable level of revenue that you enjoy for payroll and all of that stuff. For the typical agency way of doing things, and the way that an agency that I used to be in also used to do things, is the client comes in and they have this huge list of asks, and then the agency or whoever's in charge of pricing kind of like makes up a number. And it's like, yeah, it'll cost around this much. And then they do it, and then it costs around that much. And then, as you said, you experience all of the other pain points. Like, you have this pretty website, security, Gmail, backups, all of this other stuff. And I suppose I'm leading towards the question is, if you're currently in an agency in a position that does that, how do you make a successful transition into doing that sort of packaged, productized pricing?
Right.
Where do you go to learn those skills? How did you go in the skills? And did you end up creating a formula that you found works really, really, really well in terms of getting someone or getting a potential client to say, all right, I don't want to pay you this lump sum, but I'm going to sign on for this care package, etc.?
Sure. Yes. So this kind of evolved over time throughout the evolution of the agency. At first, it was just basic care plans. You know, we had like £80, and you get like basic coverage of the website for the month. And if you need more help, then it goes all the way up to £800. That includes an hour pack within it. That was kind of allocated to people. But we ended up just tailor building most of these things. So this gave a frame, but the agency world is very customized. You know, like if you want productized services, then you wouldn't necessarily go to an agency, if you know what I mean. You know, there's other solutions out there that you just take off the shelf or buy online or something. But if you already do meetings and, get in the process of building a relationship with another company, clients expected a level of customizability that they could have to it. So if they needed more hours, we should be able to accommodate it. If they needed another feature that we never did before, we should be able to build it. So there wasn't any kind of like point like that, but towards the end of the agency, I saw a huge necessity in what you're describing. And that's what happens to people as they reach pretty much around 10 to 15 employees. In the agency model, you start seeing this necessity for scale, because everything is nice and awesome to do custom projects when you're not churning out 10, 15 projects a month. But when you get to that kind of level, then you start looking at, all right, it's just crazy. We keep starting from ground zero with every project that we bring out. So that's when I started looking into that. That's when we also niched down and decided to work specifically with charities here in the UK. That allowed us to create an offering that wasn't based around building the website, but was based around creating a digital strategy for the nonprofit. So it framed it in a completely different way as more of a guide and a consultant and, done for you kind of consultant that works with them and did everything. So we took over with a fee, with a kind of a large fee compared to some of the other stuff we did that was monthly. Sorry. And that went into building the website, maintaining the website, but also creating a proper launch strategy, building a strategy, taking it to market, obtaining grants for the charities. You know, there's like a Google grant that they can get over there, getting that to work. So all of these kind of additional marketing services were also offered as part of £2,500 package a month, you know.
A lot of different ways you can be an agency except building websites, huh?
Oh yeah, the website was it became the profitable part of this thing. It's kind of like the lump sum that you get when you start that relationship. But then the real magic, and that's what I learned over the years, is to stretch that relationship as much as possible by providing value, of course, to the other side. And that was done through managing their Google ads and managing their LinkedIn accounts, even making sure that there are strategies and they're following reports and they're following projections and all of this kind of stuff.
Oh, that's great. We're going to go for our break. When we're coming back, Vito's going to be discussing some new functionality, well, much bigger than that, around WP feedback. And then in the bonus content, we're going to go back to our main topic, how to go from a freelancer to an agency owner. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. We've had Vito back in the house. It's as normal. It's been an interesting discussion. So, Vito, on to WP feedback. You've got some exciting announcements. So tell us all, Vito.
Okay, so I don't know if some of the people that are watching know what WP feedback is, but basically it's a tool that allows you to post stickers on live websites to just systemize and fix all communication breakdowns between clients and their between web designers and their clients. That's what WP feedback was until the beginning of this week. Now, what you know as WP feedback have become WPfeedback Pro. That's our pro offering that will remain as is, remain paid. Adds a lot of value to agency owners and freelancers. But we wanted to take an extra step and find something that will help us accelerate the awesome growth that we have over the past few months. Just so, I don't know if you guys know, but WP feedback is 7 months old so far. And it kind of became, it grew very fast, a lot faster than I expected it to. But I wanted it to be bigger and faster this year. So to do that, we basically in our ecosystem, there's 2 ways to go about it. Either you do a free plugin or you do content marketing. We decided instead of starting to compete with 60,000 plugins and people like Jonathan and Adrian that are doing these awesome podcasts, I decided to create a completely different concept that will help benefit the community. And this is our gift. This is our free offering that we're giving to everyone around. It still continues on our mission to fix communications for WordPress professionals. But now, instead of looking at it just between a relationship of a customer and the web designer, we're looking at it from a much broader point of view, bringing into this how we consume content day to day, how we all buy products in our space, how do product makers communicate with their audience. Now, I'm seeing this from this perspective that I couldn't even imagine 7 months ago. All of these communication breakdowns that happen throughout the ecosystem, we fixed through one platform. This platform is the new home for the WordPress community. And what we did in there is we created essentially, it's like a social media platform that has very unique features that work specifically for our niche. How does that work, Jonathan? Can I share my screen and show a little bit of what's going on?
Of course,
yeah. Okay, awesome. Okay. So this is what's going on in here. And what I kind of like found that was really interesting when I was researching how to make this happen and how to make this successful is that social media platforms are basically all the same. They have the basics, which is like having a profile, a messaging board, some kind of a feed or a messaging kind of like a feature that is available to the public. These are the basics. But what makes a good social platform is having a very unique differentiator that is special just to that specific target audience. For example, if you're looking at Snapchat with their face filters and their stories that really appealed to kids, and like TikTok does now as well, they still have profiles, they still have messages in all of these things. If you're looking at Dribbble, what they did for graphic designers, but they still have these basic functionalities around them. So for us, our differentiator is what you guys are seeing over here, which allows people to upload websites or images of their designs, and people can give them feedback on it. So let's see what's going on under this one, for example. And you can see we landed on this page, and we're going to see some feedback that other people have given this guy. Not easily readable, not enough contrast between the white text and the decorative bar. Maybe add a darker text shadow. That's a really good point in there. Some great use of mixing fonts. Yeah, some compliments. Very, very nice conversation here happening on this particular design. As this designer is done or revising, he can upload new versions of this so that he can communicate with other people in the community and tell them and ask them what they think of their design right now and so on. And you can see all of the items right here and navigate them. But what we did, this is basically what WP Feedback does. We just repurposed it for peer-to-peer communications between the people in the community. That's the big game changer here. Now you can do it either with an image like you saw or with a website. There is a free plugin that you can upload and it will integrate your website into this platform right here through this button. And we can see some of the websites that people have uploaded onto here. Great way to inspire, but a great way to learn, especially, you know, we were talking about freelancers. You're working on yourself, you know, you're on your own. You have no reference of what's going on outside in the world. And most times we are not really even sure if what we're doing is the right thing. Is this a good design? You know, after staring at the screen for so many hours, we all have these kind of doubts. This is coming to solve this problem completely for all of us, but also to inspire. I already saw a button here that I really liked, and I asked Jerome how he did the button on this. Let me see if he replied to me, actually. Yeah, you see this little button here. That was really interesting. It's an image. Now I know. I thought it was done with CSS. Yeah, that's the main differentiator. Now, let me take you to some of the other stuff here, or you guys have some questions so far?
So as a design, so let's say for the sake of argument, I'm a designer or I'm a business owner and I'm trying to come up with better ideas or more ideas or get some feedback on a new landing page. I could just come here and get feedback from other people who are also working on designs. Are the people who are commenting or providing feedback vetted in any sort of way, or do we know? Can we like see their credentials or where they're coming from, or how does that work?
Sure. So when people sign up, we ask them 3 questions that tell us who they are within their WordPress journey. Let me just show you how that kind of looks. Create a profile. And these 3 questions help us kind of understand where to place them in the space. When it comes to getting feedback, no, so far there is no filter on that. But as this community will grow and we're going to have thousands and thousands of people in here, that's when the feedback items will be more relevant within different groups, so that you know that you're getting the feedback from your exact peers within the space. So if you would upload your website, Adrian, it will probably be posted in the product makers group. And if Jonathan is going to do it, it's probably going to be done in the freelancers group, but the professional one, because he's been doing it for many years. So we can see those 3 questions. Where are you in the space here? What do you consider yourself? So I would say like this, and how many years you're doing this. These 3 questions tell us everything that we need to know. There's a lot of things that are connected to these 3 questions to optimize the experience. And again, we're all about fixing the communication breakdowns. When you land within Facebook and you're trying to figure out which group should I join, which group will give me the value for my place in my WordPress journey, you have no way of doing it. It's just jumping in and trying to figure out who are the other people in there. I feel that a lot of the groups nowadays are kind of, you know, for beginners. It's not for me anymore. I find myself hanging out in some of the more professional groups that are smaller, of like our kind of, you know, segment of this industry. So this is what this helps do. This comes into the groups.
And do you be able to see all this, listeners and viewers, if you go to the WP-Tonic website, when the show goes up on iTunes, and you'll be able to see the video part of this show? Vito, we're going to continue this in our bonus content, and you can show us more. But we try and keep the actual podcast part of the show, Vito, to about 30 minutes.
Great.
And 30 minutes goes rather quickly, of which we've just found. So we've gone slightly past the 30-minute cut-off. So I'd like to end the podcast part of the show. So how can people find out more about you and more about WP Feedback and the new functionality that you're going to be showing us in the bonus content?
Awesome. So come visit us at WPfeedback.co. It's free to join. We're already growing very fast compared to the fact that we just opened it a couple of days ago. And it's just happening in here. There's a party. So come on and join us.
And Adrian, how can people find out more about you and Groundhog?
So if you're in need of marketing automation help and you have a WordPress website, then you can go over to groundhog.io, and there are plenty of tools and resources there to help you get started.
Right. And if you want to really support the show, go to the WP-Tonic website and join our monthly newsletter list. Basically, you'll get a newsletter every month with all the leading stories around WordPress, around learning management systems. It's a great resource, and I have all the recommendations that my panelists on the Friday show give around new products. That's all part of the newsletter as well. So go over to WP-Tonic and sign up for our newsletter. We'll be back next week with another great person giving you advice about WordPress, learning management systems, or online marketing in general. We'll be back next week, folks. Bye. Well, on to the bonus content. So sorry I had to interrupt you, Vito, but 30 minutes does go quick, doesn't it?
That's true. Yeah. Well, no worries. I guess the people that will stay with us here, that would be as part of the video. So that's the most relevant part. So we got the talking on the first section. All right, let me continue here and show you a little bit more around. So let's go. So we saw the feedback item. That's the first big differentiator. The second one is the Sandbox. The idea about the Sandbox is that every user that joins the community gets a free WordPress installation that they can wreck. You know, you can install plugins, remove plugins, experiment with code, break the site. Every 7 days, it's going to reset itself, or you can hit a little reset button. And if I'm going to click here, it's just going to take me to my own and log me in automatically, so I can already start diving in and just have it available at any given moment whenever you need a fresh installation to do something quick and check something out. That's where this is from. This is kind of a cool thing on its own, but the big advance that we're bringing to this Sandbox area is the first premium plugin repository, which is something that I always wanted to have as a freelancer and as an agency, and now as a product maker. It's kind of crazy that there is no way for people to try premium plugins. You got to buy them. If you want to check if WPML works with Gravity Form, you have to spend about $250 to buy both of them, put them on an environment, see if they gel. If they do, awesome. If not, then you start chasing refunds and try to find other solutions. It's just crazy. When I was looking into our records within the agency, I found that out of 10 plugins that we bought, we ended up using only 6. So 40% is just money going down the drain. Most times we didn't even chase the refunds, which is, now that I know that the number was 40%, maybe I should have. But this is where this is going to fix. We're working with thousands and thousands of products to bring them all in there to give you guys the experience in the same experience that we have when we're working with free plugins. If I want to check what's going on here and I want to install this plugin, for example, I'm just going to click on it and it's going to install it. That's all there is to it. And that's the same experience we want to bring with premium products inside here. So you can play around, check if it works for you. If it does, you click the other button that will take you to the website. That's the only thing out of this showcase that is coming soon. But this is one of the cool advances that we're bringing to the Sandbox. I would really interested to see what you guys think of this part.
It's very cool. I personally see how that potential, like the potential to have a premium plugin repository and just being able to install those and test them out before going on could stand as a product on its own. But it's like, there's a lot more value now being able to have that as part of kind of this overarching design service. So I think that's pretty cool. How many product makers are currently signed on with that program?
Right. So we're starting with the big players and bringing thousands in one go. That's working with marketplaces that already have all of the product makers on there. Then on top of that, I'm working with some of the product makers that you and I know from the space that have like leading products to bring 5, 6, 7 at a time. Then the others will come along as we launch this. The flow that we're creating here, Adrian, that would be kind of interesting for you, is, and this is what I imagine myself doing as a product maker, is basically we're working on a plugin that will integrate your website to here. So you install a free plugin and boom, you get free traffic. That's the full extent of it.
Boom. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically, under the container of communication, you've got communication with your client and yourself, and then you've got communication between you and the wider design community. So I've got two kind of questions. First,
sure.
Are you considering actually integrating this so people can actually try different themes? Because yes, you initially were aiming this at the web designer. So I thought that, if you can add themes, they can try out different themes in the Sandbox and then see the look. So first of all, are you thinking of doing that?
Yes. So we're going to be listing 3 things, actually. It's going to be plugins, themes, and blocks when this becomes available. We already have this option for people to submit the information to us so that we can figure out when WordPress decides to take this step, how we can include this. Literally, blocks will have this experience from day one, for block-related products. So yeah, the big 3. There's also, I see a place for, design packs and kind of like a page builder templates that people can experiment with. There's a lot more challenges when it comes to these things because stealing a design is very easy, even easier than stealing a plugin. Okay. So we're still thinking how to solve it from that angle. But for sure, we're going to have themes, plugins, and blocks.
Now, I don't want to be a bit of a downer here, but I'm going to say what probably other people are thinking, and I don't know what kind of feedback you've had. Now, obviously, the main purpose of the main plugin, WPfeedback, is to accelerate or help the communication between freelance agency owner and team in agency with clients.
Yes.
Do you feel that, some people would say these other elements are fantastic, Vito, but you're taking away focus from the main
offering?
Your main offering, and like you said, that has been going on for about 7-8 months. It's been hugely successful. But some people say that you're losing a little bit of focus here. What's your response there?
So the way I look at it is I look at my North Star, and my North Star is I need to fix communications for WordPress professionals. Now the definition only changed. Now from where I stand, I understand what I didn't understand 7 months ago, that WordPress professionals are not just freelancers and agencies. They are freelancers and agencies, but they're also product makers, and they're also publishers. They're also podcast creators. They're also hosting companies. They are all people that are operating in this space that have no actual way of interacting properly with each other. So we just expanded the mission. Now, in terms of the focus, what we did with WP Feedback was built with 3 people. Now, 7 months in, we're 10 people in the company now, with Jan coming on board last week. And in 10 days, I'm flying to Thailand and then to India, where we're going to grow the team by another 3. So we're already 3 times more people than we were when we built this solution in the beginning. So that's the kind of like the way I look at it. And more than that, when you think about it, Jonathan, when you look at, my vision is, or my aspirations are pretty big. I'm looking at the top plugins out there and looking at Elementor with just past 4 million installs, or Yoast, or, WordFence with millions and millions of installs each. The team that they have in place to manage their free offering is at about 50 people that are just working on this top of funnel free offering, making sure that it works great, that it's maintained properly, that it's serving their customers. I just figured instead of allocating those 50 people to just another free plugin that will be out there, why not allocate them to something that will advance the community by a huge step forward instead of just a small, strut.
Yes, I'm following that. That's that's a very insightful way of seeing it. That I'm quite impressed with that. Over to you, Adrian. Is he there?
Oh, can't hear you.
You did. So I just want to clarify also. So WP, like the social media network, as it were,
yes,
is not for your clients, right? It's only peer-to-peer and inside the WordPress community, right?
Exactly. We have a category we saw over there on the creator profile. If I use it for my own website, this is kind of like for DIYers, but our circles are in the core of the community. So like we have about 5% that are in here anyway, which we'll figure out what to do with them next. But the core focus is actually those 3 at this stage. I just want to make sure that I know who these guys are so that we can see what to do with them later.
Right. So how does someone I'm kind of just curious what the business model is. So is
sure.
The business model
I'll be happy to share.
Yeah, go for it.
So first of all, from the Sandbox, we're counting on affiliates. So if you're going to install the free plugin on your on the Groundhog's website, we will ask you for the affiliate fee that you give out anyway, for providing the traffic and the sales and so on. That's going to be a huge revenue source on its own when it all comes here together. Then there's other monetization options when it comes to the courses that we're listing in here, and even some of the blog content have affiliate tags when you're going into other websites. This is kind of a thing that I'm trying to put into the culture of this platform from day one, that it's cool to use affiliates. I don't know why it got such a bad rep in our space. I do know. I think it's because people were using them in platforms that were designed for family and friends and not for business. And that's where the outrage came about, because if you do it on Facebook, that doesn't make sense there. But here, we're all business people. We're all here to work and to grow our businesses. That's the beauty of this platform. You won't see politics or, the baby of your friends from high school, you'll just see what you came to see, which is the work-related stuff. So when it comes to affiliate, in our code of conduct, we also added this in there, that it's invited as long as it actually provides value. And that's a huge business model there. One other thing, I don't know if you know of the WP Agency Summit that happened last year in November. Adrian, were you on it?
I was not.
No. So Jan was the guy that ran this thing, Jan Koch. He just joined WP Feedback as the CTO, and we're bringing this in. So the upcoming summits, we're planning to do 4 summits in the upcoming year. 2 to 4, let's see how it goes. 2 to 4, that's the right number. And then this will create like happening events every few months that will allow us to drive a little more revenue from sponsors, while there will not be any ads on the platform at any other time.
Oh, that's great. So when it comes to the the basic platform, WP Feedback, like you say, you've been running that for about 7 to 8 months now.
Yes.
What have been some of the surprises that you've learned from the user base that you didn't envision? And what additional functionality are you going to be adding to WP Feedback based on that initial user feedback that you've got over the past 7 to 8 months?
Great. Well, first of all, we added loads and loads of stuff on a daily basis over the past 7 months. I think we did about 40 updates in 7 months, and each one of them have features, and this most of it is based on user feedback.
So, what was the most surprising feedback that you got that you wasn't expecting that you had to add?
What was the kind of like thing that I don't know. I like when it comes to features, to be honest, Jonathan, I am very open and accepting. So like I accept that I don't know what I don't know. Yeah. And therefore, when a customer comes on and he has like an interesting use case, I don't start with a wall. I start with an open door, you know? And so I just try to accept it as what it is. The dashboard has given a huge kind of advance forward to this thing. That's the kind of like the big one. I don't know, out of 100 or 100 and something features that we built, more of them just made sense. That's why we did them. So it wasn't.
So,
but what's something interesting there is that as a product in the WordPress space, you have very limited visibility as to how people are using your product, and that creates a lot of problems for us to do exactly what you're describing, because it's installed on thousands of websites all around the world. I don't know. I'm not going to go in and check their websites. It's logged in. It's locked behind the logged in kind of screen. So we only can see what people tell us. In my mind, this is going to help us advance things a lot faster because we have access to actually see how people are using the product on a daily basis and identify bugs because we go into the websites that people upload to here. So to me, the platform, the feedback aspect of the platform is also an accelerator for understanding our product better.
So a lot of teams, especially if they're distributed, which a lot of people are. Yep. They use a content management system like either Basecamp, Teamwork. There's a host of them. Is WP Feedback going to integrate more into like Basecamp or Teamwork and other similar systems?
Yes. So when I first started this, I was under the impression that we're going to build everything. You know, we're gonna build the project management system, but based on user feedback, people didn't want it. You know, they prefer to keep using Asana. They prefer to keep using Teamwork, and that's cool with me. If they don't want it, we're not gonna build it. So instead, we pivoted to building integrations, and that's what's gonna be on the roadmap this year. A lot of them.
Oh, great! Over to you, Adrian.
I've like heard, I mean, I'm pretty blown away by the just the scale and the reach that this has. I'm curious to know, cause you only launched this like the beginning of the last month?
2 days ago. No, 2 days ago.
Like 2 days ago.
Literally on the 4th.
So how does someone, all right. So so why should someone go and sign up for this right now, and what's their path, and how do they see their shortest path to actually getting some value from what this opportunity provides?
So I want to kind of like show just the groups area around this, because this is the instant value add that you will feel like as soon as you come on board. What we did with this section is we basically got the top influencers and the top kind of like people in our space to manage groups that are based on their specific expertise. So for example, if we're going to go to DevOps, we have Jan. We talked about Jan already. Is an expert in development, continuous integration, and all this kind of stuff. Has been doing this in agencies and through the summits for years. He's the team leader here. We have Dave Foy, who taught thousands of beginner WordPresses how to start in their career through his course, No Stress WordPress. He's managing the beginners kickoff group. Then we have Need for Speed with Scott that has a group of about 10,000 people on Facebook that literally helps people speed up their websites on WordPress every day. We have Davinder doing Improve Your Skills. Here I got Codable to do the agency game, which are Codable are the biggest agency in the world. And their partners manager and CMO is running this group over here. Christina Romero, we were talking about her before, about the care plans. She's doing recurring revenue. Troy Dean and Chris Castillo are managing Grow Your Biz to help people with that aspect. Beth is doing this one. Ivica is doing this one. Picha is doing this one, and so on and so on. We have Oliver doing security as well. Hans and Donata, that I know you guys probably know, are doing privacy and legal. Michael Short. So I try to bring all of our friends from on board to manage their specific expertise in different topics. Again, to break down the communication breakdown of jumping between groups. Should I post this inside a Slack channel? Should I post this inside this Facebook group or that Facebook group? Maybe should I go to Reddit? None of this nonsense. Here it's all organized based on topics that you are funneled in automatically through these questionnaires. So, and if we're talking about product makers, we have Vova doing product makers over there. Because I chose that this, let's say this is my, let's say I'm doing this. So I'll probably be in the agency group. I'll probably be in Troy and Chris's group on Grow Your Biz. I'll probably be in the SEO and marketing group. And I'll probably be on the design skills group because that's what I did. Also, because I'm 3 years in, I'm going to be pushed into deeper topics. So, well, we know that, we didn't really care about security and privacy in the beginning. No one cares. You can't see it yet. You only get it deep enough in the rabbit hole pretty much 3 years in. That's when you start caring about privacy, accessibility, and this kind of stuff. So based on your years or your tenure, we're going to push you into the right places. So this way, when you're just starting off, you don't get bombarded with all of these things. You're just going to be in the beginner's kickoff, improve your skills, and build it up until you get to the level you need for the other topics here. So that's the instant value, that you can find inside this platform. Yeah, and then for watch news and watch, we just brought in, again, fixing the communication breakdowns. Instead of jumping between platforms to read and consume content, we're pulling in videos and pulling in blog posts so that you can consume it based on categories. Like you do on Netflix, you don't really care if it's done by Universal or Warner Brothers, in the same way that you shouldn't care if it was written by WP Engine or WP Tavern. You just want to browse based on categories. So you scroll until you find, comparing to Netflix, the documentary or the comedy, that you want to watch at that moment. And Jonathan, you guys are always also in here.
Oh, yeah.
I already added the feed, and it's pulling in all the videos that you guys are doing into the news and roundups.
All right.
Well, this hasn't been uploaded in a while, I guess, but it's going to be here. Well, we'll see it as it kind of goes around. Yeah, there we are.
All right.
Yeah, so keep doing this and we'll bring it in automatically with your profile already connected. And yeah, so again, the entire game is just to make sure that we have a safe environment that is just ours. It's crazy. We're web designers and we're hanging out everywhere else,
Well, thank you for showing it, Vito. It's amazing features, and we will have to come back on the show in like 3-6 months and tell us how it's going.
Yeah, let's see. I think we're about 600 people so far.
Right.
2 days.
That's fantastic. We're going to finish it now,
Sure.
Listeners and viewers. We'll be back next week with another great guest like Vito. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
Bye-bye.